Hey guys, welcome to the Strength Solutions podcast. We have an amazing interview today, but before we get to that, you can find us on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us at Strength Solutions. On YouTube, look up the Strength Solutions podcast channel, and you could subscribe down below. Also, leave comments about Nathaniel's hair not being that good.
Wow,
then,
that's rude. That's super rude.
That's a good start. I like that.
Also, if you're looking for us on social media, it's Strength Solutions Podcast across all platforms, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Then if you're looking for a website, it's strengthsolutionspodcast.com. You can find free blogs, free guides, and programs for there for purchase. Then on Instagram, I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
All right, let's get started with our guest, Roger.
What's up?
Roger that.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
How many times have you gotten that?
Oh my God. Countless. There's a couple of them that I keep on loop in my head. Roger Rabbit's up there too.
Oh, okay. Roger Rabbit. That's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard them all.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into personal training and fighting, and I hope you knock out Nathaniel just one time.
Yeah. We're gonna have a live choke out.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie to you. Actually, so I got into personal training. I did not want to do it. I actually did not want to do it. I told multiple people, I'm like, I don't want to deal with clients. You know how it is when you're dealing with a bunch of different people.
Definitely.
And especially people that aren't consistent. So for the longest, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. COVID hit. I had just moved here and I'd already been writing like workout plans and stuff for people. So I was like, you know what? Let me just try it.
Let me just make money off it.
Yeah, might as well. I'm already doing it, right? So I ended up working at the Camp Transformation Center for a little bit.
Okay.
As a HIIT instructor. So
The camp, is that off of like 1604, like Bandera area?
there's two of them. There's that one, and then there's one off Isom too.
Okay.
Yeah. So I worked at both. I actually worked with them when they opened that second location too. So that was interesting.
Okay.
But I went from that to HasFit now. So
Interesting. So how long have you been personal training?
I want to say 6 years. No,
That's pretty
5,
good.
6 years. Yeah, it's been a while. And honestly, I forget about that sometimes. I'm like, dang,
like,
it's been a minute.
long while,
Like, but it makes sense because, like, you know how you keep training and you start to get better at training.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize, like, after that 5-year mark, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't look at this the same way I looked at it before. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. Yeah. So, okay. There's a couple questions I have then. What did you do before personal training?
So I did a lot of things. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I was in the Air Force for a little bit.
Okay.
I got out from there. I worked in the oil field for a little bit.
Damn.
Yeah, not the move. I mean, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah.
But like right out of the Air Force, it was too similar and like job demand. I needed something a little chill for a little bit.
You liked being around men. Is that what you're
No,
talking about?
that's funny though. No, I was just like, I chased the money on that one, to be honest. I was like, and I didn't realize how much work kind of came with it. And I had already been overworked by the Air Force. So I was like, this isn't for me right now.
Right.
So I got out of that. I started going to EMT school because I wanted to do firefighting.
Damn.
So I was a firefighter for a little bit. But before I did that, before I did that,
This guy's done like all the most manliest things.
I know. Holy shit. Yeah.
that was the best job I ever had. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Really?
Yeah. I like personal training a lot. If I ever stop fighting, I'll probably go back to firefighting because it was cool. Yeah, it was very interesting. A lot of different stuff you deal with, especially in that area. It was a small town, so like I did a lot of stuff for like that firefighters normally don't do.
What is that?
Like body removals.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a nice job. You just see it. You see a lot of different stuff.
I thought you were gonna say like saving the cat from the tree.
Honestly, I'm not a cat person, so
Getting people from Cal tipping.
So honestly, it was a lot of weird calls. There was a lot of weird calls where you're like, dude, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah,
like,
why do I need to go to this?
What is this?
Yeah.
Who does this? But there's a lot of calls where it's like, oh shit, like this is real.
shit.
Like like one call we had a lady, she had a stroke, and like I'd never seen that before. So I was like, oh wow, okay. This is different. Like we should probably help her.
Yeah.
But
start spraying water.
Right? Stop it. You're just acting. No. But so before that, I worked a lot of little kind of shitty jobs. And
You know what's funny is you're talking about that, and it's like I feel like a lot of people that we've had on here who are personal trainers weren't going into personal training. No. Like, it's so funny that we've talked to a lot of people, even ourselves, right? Like, our first career move was not this.
No.
And I can imagine that it's probably pretty similar for like a lot of careers, right? I think a lot of people probably end up in their career not expecting to be in that career,
That's
you know,
true.
but
That's
it's funny
true.
that I see that a lot with personal training.
Maybe we're just a bunch of losers that are just
Maybe we're
That's
like
probably what it is.
We're the
I was
fucking
thinking
riffraff,
that.
you know, that just got thrown out of everything else, and we were like, fuck that job.
But it's
let's just
also
do this.
like, I don't know. I feel like it's interesting to see people's reaction when they come in with that, like, okay, like, what is this dude gonna teach me?
Yeah.
And then they leave and they're like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
that? And it's like, yeah, there's the difference between high quality training and just going to the
Just
gym.
training. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. There you go. Claps for that.
It's true.
That's
It's
perfect.
true.
Yeah. No, yeah. Because we've seen it a lot. And I'm sure that you've seen it at least in different places that you've been to, right? Like, I don't know what the training was like at the original place you were at. I don't know if it was 1-on-1 or if it was like classes.
It was group classes.
It was
yeah.
group classes. So,
Yeah.
like, already in a group class setting, you're not
Different.
going to get the same quality, right? That's just
and
the way it
the
is.
thing is like, and I've always been this way. You know, I'm like super.
You're meticulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I try to be that. And even in the group classes, I was like that. So now when it went from group classes to like 1-on-1, it's like, oh, now I can have a field day with people because I have a lot more time.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're dealing with, I've had classes with like 40 people in it. And I don't want to just sit there and be like, all right, you're doing great. Like, no, I'm not here to waste my time or theirs.
Yeah.
So if I see you doing something wrong, I'm gonna be like, yo, that's not how you do that.
Yeah.
If you choose to keep doing it wrong, that's on you. Especially in that group setting. It's like I don't have time to get to everybody.
Yeah. You can't sit there and train
So
everybody,
that
you
was
know?
a thing I didn't like about group training. It's like somebody's gonna be fucking up somewhere and you might not catch them, and then it's your fault.
It's just impossible, right? I mean, you can't keep track of 40 people doing a very,
I mean,
like,
some of the classes were smaller too,
right?
which helps. But it's once you get to a certain number, it's like good luck.
Even then, you start training like 3-4 people at a time, and already you're like, okay, like this is getting a little bit difficult. You know what I mean? Even in like duos or couples or whatever.
I was thinking that too. It depends on the people. I had a younger couple when I first started at Hasfit, and they wanted like 2 different things, but they were training together at the same time. And it's like, I can do this, but like my attention's just gonna be split. It has to be.
It's almost like you're doing 2 different programs.
It really was, and it was interesting. I kind of liked it because it was mentally like
challenging.
Yeah, but also that shit was exhausting.
Yeah,
Shit was exhausting, especially because then you still got to deal with the fact that they both have to get the movement.
I've always told people that I would prefer to train like 2 people of at the very least the same like skill level, strength, or gender or whatever it is, as opposed to training like couples.
Yeah,
because it's just difficult, right? I mean, just in plain sense of like strength alone, right? You're already dealing with that, and then there's multiple other things on top of it, right?
Yep.
That if someone wants to lose weight and, you know, you're going back and forth with that, or maybe, you know, I've had clients who come in and the guy's like, I want to get really strong, and the girl's like, I want to lose weight,
and I'm like, oh, I'm fucked.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
you're immediately like, well, damn, like,
this is gonna take a lot of work.
Yeah.
and 2 different people at the same time.
right?
Yeah, you can even think about in your situation, you're a fighter. Another fighter may need a different skill set, and y'all are trying to work out together. It doesn't work that way.
Yep, it is, and I think fighting actually has helped a lot with personal training because I'm always doing something physical. You know what I mean? I'm always doing something to where I'm moving my body in some shape or form, and I think that's why I train the way I train.
Yeah, I do like your training style. Like just seeing it from afar, I'm like, he knows definitely what he's doing. You're super meticulous.
See it in other people.
You can see it in other people, right? I can see when it's not that, you know, and I can be like, okay, well, that's not a good.
And that's why I like being a Hasfit, to be honest. That's what sells it. It's like the core group of us that are trainers. Like I can look and everybody's doing something. I'm like, okay, like this is nobody's gonna come here and get a bad training session.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it does happen, it like doesn't happen very long.
Yeah,
you know, like
you
it'll
know what I
get
mean?
shut down pretty long. And I think that, like you said, like we were talking about beforehand, right? Where it's like people will come in and be like, oh, you know, what is this guy going to teach me? You know? And I think personal training is a lot like that too, where it's very visual. You know, I've had people come and tell me like, oh, you know, I'm going to go in and choose the biggest guy in the gym, you know? And it's like, okay, that's cool. You know, and then it's
good
like,
luck. He still has to teach you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think a lot of the times with people who are like bigger or like, who clearly are just like super jacked, it's like, okay.
Or they have great genetics, right?
Right, yeah. And for them, it's easy. You know, they just come in and
true.
they touch a barbell and it's like, okay, they're jacked. And then it's like,
And you want that, but that doesn't mean that that person can explain what it took to get there to you.
Right, exactly.
Because that's a whole different thing in itself too.
Or they're going to have a different expectation of you, right? Like they're going to come in and be like, hey, why aren't you making this progress? You just need to work harder, blah, blah, whatever it is. And then you're like, damn, but
like what the fuck's going on?
I'm not you, bro. You know what I mean? And there's like this whole other aspect to it.
But I think that's why I like personal training too, because it's like everybody's different with not just their personality and their bodies and stuff, but how they like make it make sense in their own brain.
Yeah.
So like, you know how it is having different clients. It's like throughout the day, you got to be different people or explain the same thing in 1,000 different ways just so one person can get it. So it's kind of funny, but it's also super frustrating.
Yeah, it's like it's mentally exhausting. You know what I mean?
Especially when they don't get it. like you're just zapping my brain cells now. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be like that because everybody has to start from somewhere. But oh my goodness, some people just it really wears on your brain.
It's funny. Like I'm sure we've all had situations with clients who like they're just difficult to explain to, or maybe they almost like just don't really get it all the time. What do you do in situations like that where you have someone who is like a little bit more difficult? Maybe they're not getting the movement right. Do you have certain ways that you kind of like spin things when you talk to them?
Yeah, I'll try to change my words and try to use simpler words, not to be an asshole, but the simpler you can make it, the better, right?
Yeah.
But also when it gets to a point to where they're just not getting what I'm saying, I just show them. Yeah. And honestly, you'd be surprised how many people, like, once they see it, they're like, oh, okay. It makes a little bit more sense. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think this is a touchy subject, I'm sure. But, like, trainers that don't do certain things that they have their clients doing, it's hard for them to, like, translate that. Uh-oh. You know what I mean? So sometimes, and you know how it is. If you have a higher level client, that's one thing, right? But when you have, like, easier people doing like extra hard things and you can't show them that, it's like that's a hard gap to bridge. So I say that to say I always try to have my clients do stuff that I can show them and I can show them well. So
yeah, I mean, you see it all the time. And I think, like I tell people, I can do Olympic lifting, but I'm not the coach for you if you want to do Olympic lifting. And it's okay to be honest about that.
And a lot of people aren't. Like I've had people come to me and I think my style of training, it can serve all purposes, but there's just sometimes it just doesn't work. It just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? Or sometimes you have different goals and you may not be the best person for that person.
And I think saying that is important too.
Oh yeah, you know definitely.
Yeah, because
it saves both of you time. It saves the client time and it saves you time because you don't have to rack your brain trying to figure out, well, why isn't this person? Nah, if they're going for a certain goal and somebody else is going to work with them better, it makes everybody's life easier if you just I'm good.
Yeah.
So what type of Nathaniel knows you. I'm meeting you for the first time.
This is true.
I'm trying to figure out what fighting styles do you do?
Okay. So I do jiu-jitsu and then a lot of boxing and a lot of kickboxing. I like wrestling a lot, but I would say that like my base is a lot of jiu-jitsu and then I would say boxing, but honestly, I started striking a lot differently within the last couple of years. So I'll say kickboxing.
Okay. How long have you been doing that? And how did you get into it?
So honestly, I've been waiting to answer that question.
Yeah.
I used to want to do jiu-jitsu when I was really young.
Okay.
But it was like new then. So it was hard to find and it was expensive and I was already playing baseball, so my parents were like, fuck off, basically. So
go hit the down ball.
Yeah. Go play baseball like you want to. And at that time, that was all I really cared about. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's fair. So I wrestled in high school for a year. I don't really count it because I was barely there. But after that, my interest was always kind of peaked. So fast forward, I get stationed in Minot when I was in the Air Force. And I took my first class out there. And I was like, oh, okay, that was kind of cool. They just had like some stuff at the gym on base.
It was a BJJ?
Yep, it was jiu-jitsu. Yep. Okay. And so I took a couple classes here and there. And I was like, okay, like I think I want to find like an actual school. So I ended up going to, what was it called? I can't even remember it. But anyway, it was Gracie Combative System. Okay. So I went through that, and that was cool. Like that initial experience, I was sold. The first day.
What year is this?
This is 2016. Okay. 2017. Yeah. So when I first started taking classes, I want to say it was somewhere around 2015, 2016, but it was spotty. I started training more probably at the beginning of 2017 into 2016. So it's I've been training for a while. It's been about 7 years. And just like training, after I hit that 5-year mark, I was like, oh shit. I was like, I think I could be really good at this.
Yeah.
Like I knew I was already pretty like decent, but when I got here, oh dude, I was like, I gotta go back to the drawing board.
Really?
Yeah, because you got to think I was in North Dakota. Minot's a real small town. Like you could probably throw a rock to the other side of the town.
Okay.
Right? So, but because there's a lot of military guys from the base, you get a lot of high level jiu-jitsu out there.
Yeah.
So when I got here, I wasn't bad. I was pretty decent, but I wasn't training the way I train now. You know what I mean? I was training a lot. And I was training hard, but I didn't know jiu-jitsu like I know jiu-jitsu now.
Okay.
So I would like heavy lift and then go train. And like I'd be like catching cramps while I'm like doing the warm-ups.
Yeah.
And then I just train like that. And so that leads to injuries, which I've had way too many of them, but whatever.
We'll get into that.
So
in a second.
yeah. So I tore my labrum, and then I was out for like, I don't know, close to about a year. And when I got back, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try striking. So I started boxing, doing some kickboxing. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to try it. I think I want to try to fight. And so I took my first fight, and I'll never forget that moment.
This is kickboxing?
This is MMA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've only fought MMA.
Okay.
I'll never forget the you know how the ref goes, are you ready? Right? And I'm like, damn, dude, I'm really gonna punch this dude in the face, and nobody cares. They're gonna like cheer. Like this is gonna be exciting for everyone. I'm like, okay.
This is what they want.
I was like, dude, cool, all right. So I fought. I won that one.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. But time out. I watch it now. I'm like, ew, that is gross. That's
Just
so disgusting.
bad.
And it's hard because like I understand where I was at then, and for where I was at, not bad.
Yeah.
But I look at it and I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? What the fuck is that? But
hands all coming like way out here.
Oh, dude, it's just the ugliest of techniques. Yeah, and so what's funny is my second fight, I had so much stuff going on around that time. It was rough. I had just moved here. I'd lost a car. Like it's a whole. It was just a lot of shit
life.
going on.
Yeah,
a lot of life. And so that second fight, I fought like trash.
Yeah,
I hated it so much, and I still won. But after that, I was like, I started looking at fighting differently. I'm like, okay, like I lost my cool. 2, I wasn't even really like paying attention to what was going. I just had so much shit going on in my brain, I couldn't really focus. So after that, I was like, all right, like I gotta approach this differently. Like I gotta actually like spend my time caring about this. And when I got here, I got around a group of guys that were good, and you train around good people, you get better. Yeah. And so that's pretty much been the story.
Interesting. That's a good like aspect, right? Is like the people that you surround yourself with are definitely the people who like make.
It's interesting too though, because I mean I all those guys are cool, but like we all still, it's kind of like work, right? We all still have our own lives, so we try to spend some kind of time together, hang out, and like have that team bond stuff, but everybody's got their own life, you know.
Yeah, it's like that shit going on.
Yeah.
So what's that mindset going into the ring? You know, I'll never know it because I'm not gonna be as crazy as you are.
No, man.
What's
just
that
give
like?
it a try.
Does your brain just like click and you're just like in the ring and you're in the moment and you don't see any of the audience? Or
it's kind of like that once it starts, right? But when you're aware of stuff, you're just aware of stuff. Right. And you just choose to kind of give it your attention or you don't. Right. And so when I'm getting ready for a fight, I'm a totally different person. I'll be honest. Like, not that I'm like rude, but like my focus is on that. And that's it. Like, I don't train my clients as much. I shrink my time to focus on what I'm doing. Cause at the end of the day, like you could get fucked up in there if you're not paying attention. So I like that aspect of it because it adds something to it, but it's also like, I mean, I've been doing this for a while. I've gone against a lot of really good guys. Yeah. I'm pretty decent.
How many fights have you had?
I think 7 now.
Okay.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
Somewhere around there.
CTE. Yeah. No. Somewhere around there, yeah. I lost 2. One, I messed up my ankle, and this guy was good, but I think I thought it was going to be easier than it was.
Yeah.
And I should have took the time to heal.
Yeah.
But I that was a good fight. The other one, the same thing that happened in my second fight happened in that fight. And I was like, okay. Like after those 2, and they were back to back. After those 2, I was like, dang, like I really love this, because what else am I gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna stop now. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just happens. You lose sometimes and you learn from it. And I look back at those and I'm like that's not me. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not. It happened, right? But it's like I can see what was going on from my life then. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that's trippy about fighting is people look and they see, like even my last fight, they look and they see like, oh dang, like okay. But when I look at it and I see it, I'm thinking about my life and like what led me to that point. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to rewatch my fights sometimes. I don't do it often, but sometimes I'll watch them and I'm like, damn. Like I remember everything that was going on then, and I remember that day. You know what I mean?
How interesting, man. That is super interesting. Talking about injuries, healing, stuff like that. I know recently you've had a big injury and you're healing from it now. That one. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't mind, can you talk about that experience?
Absolutely.
Talk about like the rehab process. Talk about what happened, through it.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's just because I'm hard-headed or if it's because I'm a fighter, but either way, you just get a lot of little injuries when you're training. It just happens, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really pay attention to them that often. Like after my last fight, my pinky toe was broken on my left foot, and I was still training. What can I do? It's a pinky toe. Like I can't complain. Like, oh my God, my pinky toe. They're gonna be like, okay, like
cut it off.
Like, what do you want us to do? You know what I mean? So little stuff like that is like you just kind of get used to it. So when you get a little sense of an injury, it's hard to assess it correctly sometimes, right? So I was training and I had overtrained this day because I had been working a lot, right? And I finally got a day to train, and I'm like, all right, dude, like I'm gonna go hard today, like fuck it. And so I trained in the morning. I sparred with a couple guys that are obviously bigger than me. And so then I went home. I grabbed my dog, and I was gonna go for a trail walk. You know what I mean? Just some light cardio. Yeah. I started running. I don't know why. I just started running. And so I'm like pulling my fat ass dog. She's not fat, but she's slow. I'm pulling my dog and just running. I end up, I don't know, maybe like a mile or 2. Okay. And then I drop her off and I go right to training. Okay. So I had worked out. I'm already tired at this point. We train again in the evening, and I'm doing a little bit of sparring, and then we do drilling at the end. So at this point, I've had a long day. I'm tired, and I haven't trained in a little bit. So my body's fatigued. We're doing this drill on the wall, and I tried to like pivot and turn, and my hip just popped. And like you know those ones where you're like, oh shit, like that was probably something. That was probably something. It was one of those. And like I literally froze, and I was like, all right, like I still feel normal. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, let me just move around a little bit, and it hurt. But I was like, all right, like, let me try to finish the rest of the day, and then I'll see. Yeah. The next couple of days, that shit hurt so bad. That shit hurt so bad, and I was like, fuck. And I was like, all right, I'll give it some time. So I took like 2 weeks off. 2 weeks off. I come back, and I'm moving, and I'm like, like, it feels better. Still couldn't really throw kicks. And mind you, at this time, I'm getting ready for a fight, too. Right, I remember. Because I had a quick turnaround, and I really wanted that quick turnaround because most of my fights, I've had a long layoff in between, and I don't like that. But it's just kind of the cards I've been dealt. So dang, CTE hitting again. That's crazy. I started thinking about something else. What was I saying?
You popped. So like you're.
Oh yeah. So it popped. I gave it the 2 weeks, right? And then when I came back, I'm like, I can kind of feel it, right? But I'll be all right. Like I can make it through. I was supposed to fight this guy earlier too. So I didn't want to scrap it. I was like, I'll be okay. Like I'll figure it out. And I came back. I was feeling good, pretty good, for dealing with that. And then I remember we sparred, and I was trying to throw like a feint, like a hip feint. and it was just nothing was happening. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I was moving good earlier, like 20 minutes before this. And then all of a sudden my hip starts hurting and my hamstrings just starts burning. And I'm like, fuck. So I go from like moving around to like hobbling to like, I had to sit down. I'm like, damn, all right, like, let's see. So for the next couple weeks, I'm like trying to train. I couldn't grapple, couldn't do any of that. And I'm like, damn. So now it's like wearing on me. Like I'm probably going to have to like back out of this fight. And I don't like doing that. Hate it. And so I'm like giving it time, trying to train, giving it time, trying to train. And then I'm thinking like, nah, I'm not doing this again. I learned this lesson already, right?
Yeah.
I went into a fight a little injured, more than a little injured. And look what happened. So call off the fight mentally at this point. I'm like, all right, I'm probably not going to do it. Let me get an MRI. Let's see. I go, I find out that my labrum's torn in my hip and then my hamstring's partially torn as well. And I'm like, that makes sense. I'm like, that whole burning hamstring thing. I'm like, now it's making sense. I thought I was just, like making it up. But sure enough, it was partially torn as well. So I went from training 3 times a day, cardio, sparring, hard, getting ready for a fight, right? To not being able to do anything at all.
Dang.
Yeah. My brain was like going at 1 billion miles per hour and my body's just like, yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So like that first 2 to 4 weeks, maybe, it was like, fuck, like this sucks. And then having to actually call out the fight and send that message is like, fuck, all right, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
I guess I go back to work. You know what I mean? And I don't need to be kept busy, but lately it's been feeling like that. And so not having the ability to train is like, it zaps you when you're used to training all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So that it was definitely an interesting experience. I learned that I should probably pay attention a little bit more to my own body. So now I'm trying to be smart about it. I'm working my way back. I think I had about, I want to say 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks with TSAOG.
Are you still there now?
I should be, but the VA won't give me my referral.
Oh, damn it.
I won't get into that. That's a whole nother rant. People who deal with the VA know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked that. I liked them a lot. They helped out a ton. I was trying to work there, low key.
Yeah.
I was like, that'd be a cool job. But they had this anti-gravity treadmill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the big like balloon thing?
Dude, it's cool.
Yeah. At the Alter G?
That's exactly what it is. So like, I was on crutches.
Yeah.
And they would put me in that thing and like boost up the gravity or whatever to like 80%.
Right.
So it's like basically 20% of my body weight.
Correct.
And I felt normal. I'm just walking like normal.
Yeah.
Now when they took me out of that thing, I was like, fuck.
Back on
like,
Earth,
can I go back in there?
Yeah.
It just relieves all the pressure. That was cool. That helped out a lot. And then they were all cool.
Right.
And it helps, having the background that we have is I already know what to do.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about people recovering from injuries is that they don't do anything. They're like, oh, it's never gonna be the same. Yeah, but you gotta do something. And if you don't do it at the beginning, you're almost fucked. Like when I tore my labrum in my shoulder, like the very next week I was in physical therapy and all they did was move my arm. And then I would be like, and they'd be like, okay. And they would go less. But if I would have never did that, frozen shoulder, easy.
Yeah.
Right? But also being a trainer, it's like if I'm not doing anything, I'm probably gonna do some trainer shit. You know what I mean? I'm probably gonna stretch or just I don't know something. And if I have an injury, I'm gonna spend my time targeting that injury. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's helped in the recovery process. And then you know what else has helped? The belt squat.
Yeah.
When we got that, I was like, that's it. That's the exact thing I needed. Yeah. I was like, that's the exact thing I needed because it's gonna open up your hips. Right. It's gonna relieve that, decompress the spine a little bit, and all that pressure built up I had from them cutting me open, that helped.
Yeah.
So now I'm just now working my way back to training.
Right. You said you had a lower body day the other day, right?
Yeah, dude. It was a good one. And training MMA as well. Just striking though.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I went Tuesday, long ass day. So many clients, and then just right to training. I'm like, all right, no, I need this, and I did. I enjoyed it. But being able to move again it's nice.
How long is the recovery process for this? Did they give you any sort of like?
So I don't know if this sounds assholish, but most people, I feel like they say like 3 months.
Yeah.
Before they're like doing half the shit I'm already kind of starting to do.
Right.
So I don't really know how to gauge it because I don't know what they're basing it off of. And it's been easier with like my shoulder. It's easier, but the hips, it's like, that's like, it's the center of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so some movements I can do and I don't even think about it. And I'm like, oh, I'm back. And then some movements I'm like, ow, like how does that still hurt? So it's very interesting to deal with because it made me like think about, I knew the hips were the center of everything, but it gives you a different understanding for it.
That's interesting, right? Because we talk a lot about that, like stability around the hips, core, glutes, everything like that, right? Like for like lower back stability, just stability in general, especially in something like combat sports, right? Like that's where you're gonna absorb all of your energy.
Dude, if you don't have I don't know how people don't focus on core. It's very strange to me. Like you want a weak center, like I guess I don't know.
Yeah, that's the whole foundation, right?
It is, and once you understand that, it's easier to build on everything else too. So it's very frustrating when you get some of those clients that are like, they just don't like core. And I'm like, I get it, but like, that's going to help you with everything else. Like, especially if you're trying to make strength gains or even weight loss, you know what I mean? It goes in both directions.
Especially in like terms of like pain relief, things like that, right?
True.
Like it's got to be one of the bigger things that we have to focus on in order to get people where they want to go.
Yeah, everybody's got low back pain. Everybody's got a weak core.
Right, yeah, like clearly, right?
Yeah, it's a interesting imbalance that people just don't understand.
You made a good point talking about recovery times, right? And sort of like those normative values that were given, especially in physical therapy, surgery, 6 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6 months, whatever it is, right?
It's just a guess.
It really is.
I mean, it's well, I don't want to say that because it is based off somewhat off of like experience and a wide range of people. So I'm sure that number makes sense, but I mean, it depends on what you're doing too.
Because even the difference between 4 months and 6 months is a lot.
It is.
You know
it is,
yeah.
Especially when you're used to a certain quality of life too. No matter what that is, once you get that surgery, your quality of life decreases, and it's like, okay, like I got to get back to whatever your normal is. Right?
Yeah.
And the sooner you can start that journey, and the more consistent you stay, the shorter it is. And I don't think that people realize that.
Yeah. Have you ever had any like major injuries, Edwin?
Nope.
Nothing crazy. Yeah, which is good.
You ever
right?
broken a bone?
Nope.
Damn.
I mean, in his defense, I just broke my first bone like 2 years ago. Yeah. So
what was it?
My foot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
did I know? I don't think I knew.
I don't think
that.
I knew.
Yeah.
Somebody had a boot.
I did have a boot for a long time. Maybe
Somebody
you were
had a boot at
around.
work. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I fucked up my foot. And so I had
Playing
to
around. That's how you mess
playing around for real. Yeah.
Playing around with
Foot stuff, bro.
Okay, I knew it. I had a feeling.
He does feet pics on OnlyFans, and
You're still taking feed pics.
I was like
that's
trying to
he
get
got in one like position. It's called.
just snapped in half. No, yeah. So like, yeah, coming back from injury is interesting, and like I know my experience is nowhere near as like intense as that one, but even then it was like I broke it, and in like a month I was already back to like doing pretty normal stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
but and you probably stayed on it. You stayed consistent.
I did.
Right?
Yeah, I went to PT like maybe like 2 or 3 times for them to like get things moving.
Yeah, kind of get that base layer of.
And then
the
after
foundation.
that, it was just, I mean, like straight up, I didn't have the fucking money. Like,
Yeah.
I was like,
No,
I don't
that
have
shit
the-
gets expensive
I was like,
after
I
a
don't
while,
have the
too.
money for fucking surgery or X-rays or anything. So I was like, I'm just gonna figure this shit on my own.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you know, and really,
but people are so scared to do that. And if you have no body awareness, then okay, maybe don't try that. But once you get that baseline, like you kind of know where to deviate at, and it helps when you're a trainer because it's like, all right, like they're doing this, oh, okay, then I can do this, and that's what's sped up my recovery too. Not just the tools I have, but like I know what to do, and it's just a matter of can I do it, and am I pushing too hard? That's the only conversation it becomes.
right. We deal with a lot of like people with pain and stuff like that. I know Edwin has a lot of like pain related.
All my people are pretty much like 16 over.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So
I kind of, you know what? I kind of like that. I kind of like that age group though. They're
my
some
favorite.
of them are interesting, but a lot of them are really cool.
No, they're my favorite group because you do more learning than what you're teaching them.
That's true. That's
Just
true.
about things about life,
Mhm.
and man, it just speeds up your journey and your process.
It does. It does.
And I've noticed though, with the injuries of older people, the clients that I have that actually are consistent
You
with
see
the
improvement.
exercises, there's a traumatic improvement, even at their age, versus someone who's young who doesn't do anything.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And it's it's hard to like stress that consistency really is key, and it's annoying because it's like one of those adages or like phrases that everybody uses, but
cliche.
Yeah, there you go. But like when it comes to injuries, that's your best friend, and it doesn't have to be big jumps. Just you'll know because you'll start to feel better, and then you can just slowly progress. But it's funny because when you're a trainer and it happens, and people still are like, oh, how are you recovering? Like, you know what I mean? Like I've had someone ask me like, are you sure you should be doing that? And like, yeah, I think I know what I'm doing. But like, thank you. I appreciate, I think that's care. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like also I think I know more than you. So I feel like I don't think you should, but you know, people are people. So
yeah, fair enough.
No, yeah, I get it. So fighting, when's your next fight? Or have you scheduled it?
Yeah. What's the prospect?
So I don't know.
And
I'm trying
to be here.
The last two have been in San Antonio. I would like for this one to be in San Antonio since it's my first one back in a while. But honestly, it's more of, okay, am I ready yet? That's the only thing I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about the fight yet. I do want to fight. I have that desire to do that again. But I'm more so like making sure I'm good.
We can make this happen at Hasfit at 1604. When Nathaniel is your opponent.
I mean, if you want to, if you like fighting, I will do it. But I can think of some people I'd like to. You know what I mean? There's a couple people for sure that I'm like, they might need it. You know?
That's so funny, dude.
But nah, man, I'm looking forward to fighting again, but I'm trying to keep my mind focused on healing because I can tell I'm ready to go. And if I let go of the reins too quick, I know I'll hurt myself again. So, learning from that past experience, I'm gonna just take my time, make sure I'm back, and once I'm back, I got a lot to get off my chest.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with fighting, you have to be like this person or persona, and I had too much stuff going on, man. I'm tired. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be good at this, but I don't really care for what else comes with it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see how far I can take it. I would like to be the best, obviously, right? That's why you do stuff like this. But I mean, it's a part of me at this point. You know what I mean? Regardless of where I go, I'll always train for sure.
Does anybody in your family do this as well? No. Or is it just you?
Just me.
Just you.
Yeah. And that's the other thing people don't understand. Like, there's people that have been doing this since, like, there's a kid on my team that's been doing this since, I don't know, maybe like 9.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's I think he's 16 now. I can't remember when he started, but he's good. And I can't imagine how good he's going to be 6-7 years from now. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to see how people come to MMA and who sticks around. Because a lot of people you think would stick around after like a month or two, you're like, oh shit, where's so-and-so? And the interesting thing about that is I was still getting that when I got here and I got injured. And I was like, all right, they don't know me. It's not their fault. And I had to like kind of disassociate myself from that because I was thinking it. I'm like, I'm hurt. I'm coming back here. Don't think I'm gonna be away from this. And then I was like, well, does it matter? Do I have to prove that to them? Nah, not really. I'll be back. You know what I mean? I'll be back, and I'm gonna do it because this is just what I want to do. So it's interesting where I'm at now and where I was when I started, as far as like even people supporting it. A lot of even some of my family now, they're like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, look, man, I don't fucking know. But it's fun though. But it's fun though, and I like it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the people that have slowly transitioned to where they're like, oh, okay, like now I see. Like with all the stuff that I've been through, if I didn't care about this, like I would have stopped doing it a while ago. So
what's the process of you getting a fight? Like, what do you have to do to be like, or someone help you get a fight?
So most people have managers. I do not. I manage myself, I guess you could say. But I just reach out to the promoter and I'm like, yo, I'm ready. And I'll tell them what weight class I want to fight at. They'll look for an opponent. They'll send me one once they find it. And then after that, send over the contract, sign the contract, and we got a date.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's not complicated, especially when you're already under like a contract too. So you'll sign like a 4 or 5 deal, and then once your 4 or 5 deals up, they'll either give you another one or you can just hop around to different promotions. It just depends on kind of who you're signed to and who you're fighting for.
Do you have a favorite promotion company? Is that something you can talk about?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably shouldn't, but I don't care. I don't think so. I mean, you mean like that I fought in?
Or just in general?
I mean, it's hard not to say the UFC because there's so many good quality like fighters in there, but I don't really look at stuff like that. I think fighting is a lot more interesting. Like when you go to gyms, you'd be surprised how many people are really good.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people are really good. It's just different when you're in there. It's different when you're actually in there, and so you'd be surprised how many people from there don't actually fight. So it's hard for me to really care about, like, not that I don't want to be the best, because I do, but it's hard for me to really think like that because it's like some of these people aren't even fighting, and you can go into their gym and they will give you problems, and you'll be like, who the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And then you'll go against people who like have a ton of followers, or they got a lot of, and you're just like,
doesn't matter. Yeah.
Fighting, when you train, you can tell, right? And when you watch someone fight, you can tell. They're like, oh, okay, like he knows what he's doing. Some people just get in there and they're just fucking, and I like it, but like, I can't do that in there, you know? I got to be a little bit more aware of what I'm doing. That's just kind of who I am.
Makes me think of personal training and seeing like influencers give such bad advice. Like you can just tell from far away.
That's a perfect example.
That is a good comparison.
That's exactly what it is. And I mean, people are people, you know what I'm saying? No matter what they do, they're going to be them. And so I think that's why that happens in different fields. But you also meet a lot of people that you're like, okay. Like those ones are interesting.
It's crazy as humans that we get caught by these smoke and mirrors all the time. I mean, I could think of perfect examples like myself watching ESPN, and they're always talking about like, what if this? Well, that don't mean shit in the actual grand scheme of thing in the game.
But you know what? People are bored. And I get it. Me too. You know, but at some point it's like, it's interesting to listen to, and then it's like, all right, like, what are you really saying? You know?
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah.
Do you ever hear, like, you know, in personal training, we hear a lot of shit, right? People come in and be like, I saw this on Instagram and, you know, this and whatever it is. No. You know what I mean? Do you have similar experiences in, like, MMA or things like that where people come in and they're like, I saw this? Or I mean,
the time. But you know what? Yeah. It's weird because some people also learn that way. So it's like sometimes, like, I can see something on a clip or whatever and be like, oh, okay, like, that might add well to my game. So I don't knock that because the information's there. But a lot of people don't have, you know how people don't have that body awareness, and they want to lift, and they want to lift heavier, but they can't lift it. It's the same thing. They come in and they want to do like all this cool shit, and they don't even know what guard is. And I'm like, dude, all right. And teaching people is interesting too. Teaching people jiu-jitsu is totally different. It's the same kind of principle with, like, as approach wise, but it's like there's so many nuances to jiu-jitsu. You can't just teach it like step by step, because everybody has their way of moving. Everybody has their own way of understanding how their body moves. So it can get complicated real quick. So I think teaching jiu-jitsu might be in the future at some point, or striking. I like striking too.
This might be a dumb question, but is all jiu-jitsu Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or is there different strands?
I try not to get too caught up. It's interesting because I get that there are different forms of it, depending on where you're at, but it's hard for me to really separate it. To me, it's all grappling at this point.
Okay.
Like,
would you consider it almost like, okay, you're lifting weights, powerlifting, bodybuilding, everything's lifting weights. It's just in a different manner.
Yeah, and it depends on like what your end goal is, right? Like different types of jiu-jitsu, they have different focuses on, like, whether it be control or submission, or they have a different approach to the same thing. But it's like, just like anything else, when you get to a certain culture, it's just going to be like that in that area. So in Brazil, it's a certain way. Here, it's a certain way. On the East Coast, it may be different, you know what I mean? But it'll all be still jiu-jitsu. So it's kind of interesting. It's really weird, but I think that's why I like it.
Do you have a favorite type? No.
Just
I
where
just
he
like
chokes him. No.
Yeah, I just like to
I just
control
wanna kill
people.
somebody.
Dude, I'm telling like it's very interesting, and like obviously I'm not the tallest guy in the world, right? It's very
Now,
interesting.
hey, everybody, he's 6 feet.
Thank you.
All my bio says I'm 6 feet.
Right, 6'1", actually.
Yeah, okay.
So, damn, there it is again. See,
Your favorite types of jiu-jitsu.
There we go.
Yeah.
I just don't see it differently.
Okay,
I, as long as I can control somebody, I'll use whatever, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, catch, like there's too many things to like for me to catch on to one and be like just that.
That's an interesting take because I think that's something that we kind of try and talk about, but I think that that's like the best way it's been said, where it's like there are all these different styles of training, right? Like we talk about bodybuilding, powerlifting, animal flow, mace training, like whatever it is.
It gets to be a lot, right?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we always tell people like it's just what's going to work best for you, like whichever one you can do the best, whichever one you're going to be the most consistent with, whichever one is going to be most
effective.
Goals,
yeah, exactly. And that's why like when people come in and they're like they have this mindset of where they want to be and they don't have the plan, and then you give them like a plan and they don't want to do it at the beginning. It's like, dude, I know what you want, but you can't just go straight to the end. Yeah, there's stuff that you have to build on, and I think that's one of the difficult things about personal training, to be honest, because it's like I don't have to give you this information, you know what I'm saying, but I'm choosing to, and then you think I'm just like wasting your time.
Yeah.
So it's like it kind of that's one thing that does bother me about it.
For sure. Yeah.
I think that's how it is.
Random.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it is for a financial advisor.
Yeah, true,
anybody.
true.
I mean, whatever profession you go into, I just think people are hard to convince because you grow up in a tribe. And I've been throwing this concept around. I want to be part of the tribeless.
That's fair. I like that.
That's because I want to find the truth.
Yep.
And that's what my real tribe is, the truth. Right.
And a lot of people, I think, they're kind of scared to do that.
Yeah, I think a perfect example is today I was having a conversation about like therapy, like, you know, going to a therapist and stuff like that, and how a lot of the older generation and stuff like that are so like against it, right? Like they just can't get to it. And I don't know if it comes down to, you know, a thing where it's like, oh, well, if I go to it, then I'm weak or I didn't figure it out or whatever it is, because I think they come from a different mindset. But I think a lot of the times it comes from the fact that if you go, you're going to have to deal with all the shit that you've been trying not to deal with.
That's very true.
Yeah.
But it's also, not to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But I also think it's like, that's just what they were taught. You know what I mean?
It is.
For a while, they were conditioned to think that way. And even if they are aware of the opposite, they're fighting with themselves just to even make that decision.
Yeah.
And I think a big part is this is the first time in human history that we have had the ability to have an abundance of food, a lot of money.
And
we don't have things to
why
care
shit
for
starts happening.
that is just to live life. Now we have a bunch of time to think, and we don't know how to handle this brain.
And you know what really changed that? COVID.
That's even worse.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean,
DoorDash, the blow up of DoorDash and all those like.
but then it's like you can't blame people. You're at home all day, and like you can't do anything. You know what I mean? But a lot of people were left with their thoughts. And
I just drink a lot of Taco Bell margaritas. Man.
I'm not gonna lie to you. During COVID, I turned into a runner.
I get the fuck out.
I swear to God, dude, I was running so much. I'll never forget. So we were still training at this time. Nobody knew, but we were still training. And so,
oh wait, where's the cops? Call the cops right now.
Just kidding. No, so I would run so much that my feet would be all like blistered and fucked up, and then I would go train with no shoes on this shitty mat, and it would just rip my feet to shreds. Oh, dude, it was. And I was like, yes, this is, and I think it was just because of COVID. I blame COVID for that.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever get COVID?
I had it once too. Yeah,
me too.
I'm
pretty
How
was
sure.
it?
So like for me, it was, I didn't even know I had it. I think I got it before we were like totally aware of what the fuck was happening. Because I remember like being at a.
Oh yeah, I remember it was like the beginning.
Because I remember like, man, I remember it happening. I
said, get
like
away.
This is me sort of like recounting the COVID experience. I remember being at a bar, and at the bar, it had been like 2 weeks of like spring break. They had done spring break, and then they were like, this shit's happening. We're going to extend it another week. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like this is hype for me. So I was at a bar with one of my friends, and I remember like checking my email because it must have been maybe like a Saturday or Sunday. And I was like, fuck man, I have to go back to school this next week. And I got an email and they were like, oh, like we're going to like cancel school indefinitely.
Damn.
And I was like, let's get another shot.
Let's get another shot.
No, I was like, fuck. And I think that may have been in like March or something like that. I remember being at kind of like early in the months. And so as time went on, I think in May is when I like contracted it.
Yeah, because you're supposed to go to work. And
yeah. And I didn't
COVID
know.
or AIDS?
Well, I already had one of them. So I'm not going to say which one. No, and so I remember like getting really, really sick and just being like, fuck, like, you know, I'm super sick, like whatever, blah, blah. And dude, it was like knock you the fuck out sick. Like I was like bedridden, bro. Like I have this like memory of like laying in bed and I just like writhed around in bed for hours, you know, awake, just like sick as fuck. And I remember like staring at my ceiling fan, and I was like, I want to turn that shit on so bad. And I like cannot get up, bro. Like
that's COVID.
Yeah.
That's COVID.
And I was like sitting there, and I think, you know, like 6 hours later, I was like, I just like fucking went and like
everything you
yeah,
had.
bro, for real, like slapped the light switch and like came straight back to bed, and I was like, fuck. And I was like, all right, then I just like knocked out, and then I got a little better. I remember I thought I was totally good, and I went outside to work on my car. I like working on my car a lot, so I was like going to change the brakes and spark plugs, like normal ass shit, bro. Yeah. And I remember like turning wrenches and being like, out of breath, like, yeah, dude. And I
crazy,
remember
right?
I was out with my dad, and he was like, go inside, and I was
what
like,
the fuck are you doing?
yeah, I was like, all right, bye. Like I'm not fucking doing this. Yeah. So that's how like my experience was with it. And then I remember getting the vaccination because I had to, because I was working in the healthcare field, and so I had to get it. And I remember I got sick like after I got, it was just one day. But it was the exact same. And that's when I was like, oh, that's what was wrong.
You're like, that makes sense.
Yeah, I had COVID. Yeah. How was it for you, Edwin?
Oh, for me, it was just like a regular fever, man.
Really?
I was like ready to go back to work the next day.
Yeah.
It's because I was strong.
I don't know. Fuck you. I was struggling. I was fighting for my life.
No, I was just laying on the couch, watching TV, ready to go back to work.
Dude, I couldn't even watch TV. My eyes hurt.
Yeah, bro.
My fucking eyes hurt. I couldn't watch
way.
TV. I would wake up and take NyQuil and just go back to sleep.
Sounds like I'm a superior human.
Listen, you got it, because COVID beat the shit out of me. That shit gave me Mike Tyson hands. It was rough.
Dude, I was fucked up. Yeah, I couldn't do shit with it.
Isn't it crazy? The same
I talked a lot of
virus,
shit about
everybody
it too.
different.
Yeah,
I talked a lot of shit.
See,
about
that's
it.
why.
Yeah.
That's why you got it. I got another question.
Okay.
I'm gonna go into a silly part. I usually ask people like a silly question, or at least like something that I like always wanted to know. So, I've always thought things like, and you can bash me if I'm wrong, okay? But it's
let
like,
it fly.
yeah. So I was like, I've always thought things like capoeira and like Tai Chi and stuff like that.
No,
I'm
this is a
like,
good one.
I'm like, are those valid forms of martial arts, or are they just like dumb shit people do?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
in a real fight.
Yeah, because like, okay, like I'm talking like, okay, Tai Chi, I can understand there's probably like a million benefits to it. Or capoeira is probably great for, I don't know, cardio or whatever.
The problem is
Mobility
a
rhythm,
wrestler will grab you and smash your face in.
Right.
So I'm not gonna say it's not, because I mean I can't. It has some benefits to it, right? But I'm not doing that and then going in the cage. Me personally.
Yeah. Okay.
Would I suggest other people to do that? No. But is there someone out there that may figure it out? I doubt it, but maybe.
But I wonder if, okay, you're in a cage, but if you're in more space and they're able to travel away and get a hit here and there.
But if I get a hold, if they grab
I know
me,
it's over if you get a hold, but what if you never get a hold?
Bro, what if they're doing this the whole time, bro?
well, they're going to be on the ground for sure. They're doing that. No. I mean, I don't know. I guess it could go either way, right? You could I could be like, well, if they never get a hold. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I
just want to say it looks cool in video games, though.
It does look cool.
And I'm not saying some of that stuff I'm sure people use.
Yeah.
It's just like, if your health is on the line, is that where you're going to put your cards on?
What about like traditional types of martial arts, like kung fu or karate or things like that? Are those valid in the cage, or like not really? You know what I mean? Because
yes and no. Because not to cut you, if you look at people like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, UFC fighter, and then Michael Venom Page, they have like karate styles, and it works. Now they add in other stuff, but that's their base, and they don't stray from it. But they're a little different than most people, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say it doesn't work, because that would be a lie, right? But also, like, don't do that shit.
Have you ever trained any of those?
No, I haven't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy. I thought about it. So my initial idea was to kind of just train everything, and then MMA happened to me, and now I'm here.
So the main martial arts in MMA are jiu-jitsu, boxing and kickboxing, I'm assuming. And wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah. Muay Thai too.
Okay.
I've taken a lot of classes there. I say about a year's worth of training in
wrestling, like the Undertaker and stuff.
And you know, here's what's crazy is I can't hate on it because I used to watch it as a kid. But like people are like, oh, you wrestle, like, and I'm like, that's what you think I do? Like, I know that makes me sound like a dickhead, but like that's the first thought that pops into my head. I just can't. It's different. It's just different.
Clearly, a different
but
thing,
you know, you like what you like.
You know how like they started, right? They like had the extremes, like best fighters of each like thing, like kung fu and
and MMA
before MMA was out, and then they all like came together.
That shit was brutal.
It was like just the early UFC days.
Yeah. It was just like chicken fighting, dude. Just like.
But
like they used to be a lot of steroids too, right?
Yeah. I'm like, dude, that's
used
a
to be, bro. Used to be.
Yeah, good point.
They're just better at hiding it now.
Oh, okay.
They are, and that's a part of the game that's honestly like you just got to accept it.
Yeah,
and it's very strange because it's like I don't really feel the need to do it. Like I've been through so much stuff and recovered that like
you feel fine.
Yeah, like not to say that it wouldn't help later, and I don't think the idea of steroids is bad, but like if you're competing and you're punching people in the face and you're on steroids, like sheesh.
Yeah.
Probably gives you more power, but also if you build too much muscle, it could throw off like your hands and your feet.
Yeah, and I mean it's still a tool, right? Yeah. They still have to use it correctly, but it will help them. You know what I mean? It does, and I try not to give it too much thought because I mean if it happens, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I can't control what other people do, but it's an interesting thing to think about when you talk about fighting.
I really think that's a good place to end, injecting in people's butts steroids. So, guys, if y'all are enjoying our podcast, you could check out Apple, Spotify, Strength Solutions Podcast. On YouTube, it's Strength Solutions Podcast is our channel. You comment down below. Then, if you're looking for us on social media, Strength Solutions Podcast across TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Then you can look for us online, strengthsolutionspodcast.com. Hey. Then if you're looking to email us, strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. And I'm Strength Solutions Edwin on Instagram.
Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Screw that guy. No. Until next time, guys. What?